We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Please hang up and try again.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. This is BTC-TV, channel 13. I've changed it. And this is Scribbler, a portal to fiction. I'm your host for the day, or for the little bit of time we have, Ben Wustenberg. I write once in a while, and I try to read them out once in a while. I don't do very well, but sometimes I manage. Anyways, this is the start of a new story. It's because I don't want to read Freedom House anymore, it's done. Because nobody was paying attention to it anyways. So, this is called Cinderella and Her Sisters. And it was supposed to be part of something that I was calling Tales of the Vienna Woods. It ties into the story that I had read and written earlier, The Bashful Courtesan. It has George in it, I believe, and Count Novak, I think. But we'll figure that out as we go along. Anyways, I'm going to read it, and you're going to listen to it, because that's why we're here. So here we go. Cinderella and Her Sisters, Chapter 1, 1917. Anna stands over the washtub, staring into the emptiness of the courtyard as the steam surrounds her and the mist gathers in her hair. Her mind is lost at the moment, in another place, or maybe it's in another time altogether. She doesn't know anymore. And she brings herself out of her absorption with a quick snap of her head. She considers the reality of her situation, as well as the hopelessness of it all, and surrenders herself to whatever the future has to offer. She paws at her hair absently, feeling the limp curls that frame her haggard expression, and tries pushing the curls out of her face, under the kerchief she's wearing. She pats at the sweat on her face with the back of her wet forearm, and begins stirring the sheets in the washtub with her paddle. Ordinarily, Anne is not the type of woman to let her mind wander aimlessly. She's always been the sort of woman to be in control of her life and of her destiny, if not the particulars surrounding her life. Over the past 3 years, however, she's found herself to be a woman of singular purpose, with an agenda that's always been more in line with her self-determination than anything else. She likes the sound of that word and what it means to her, especially the personal revelation it seems to signify for her and everything around her. She doesn't look at it as a single word, but as an idea, or the expression of an idea, and smiles at the thought of herself 10 years earlier when she'd first heard it spoken. It means survival, she tells herself, and if that isn't what the word means, maybe it should, she thinks, as she continues stirring the sheets with the paddle. There should be no compromises as far as life goes, and no compromising as far as she's concerned with herself either. One does what they have to in order to survive, she tells herself. It's something she's resigned herself to, more than something that's been forced upon her. It's a matter of acceptance rather than blind compliance. She works for the sake of the children, she tells herself, but she also works in place of her sisters, just as much as she works for Papa and the Countess. She works in order for all of them to survive. Anna has always put them before herself, and lately she's been wondering what that leaves her. When does her life begin, now that she's found the place where it ends? She doesn't feel the cold as she stands outside. The steam from the tub keeps her warm, but the work wears her out. She must look like a mist monster, she tells herself, if there is such a thing, and she breathes in deep as the steam envelops her completely. She looks at her reddened hands as she dips them into the hot water of the tub. She picks up one of the sheets, folds it in half, and then folds it once again and slips a dowel through one end so she can wring the sheet out. She watches the water drip along the length of it, melting into the snow underfoot. There are tiny ice crystals of snow floating in front of her, and she finds herself thinking of the Snow Queen, wondering if it's possible her heart has turned to ice as well, because she doesn't feel the cold. She feels the damp penetrating her dress, though, and welcomes it like an unfamiliar lover. The snow has melted around the tub, and the water makes a mud puddle where she stands or walks about. She unwinds the steaming sheet and throws it over the clothesline. She watches it steam and then reaches up to stretch it tight. She picks up an old tree branch she's been using for the last 3 years and props the line up so the weight of the wet sheet won't pull it down into the mud. That's the last of it, she tells herself. She looks at the sheets lining the courtyard, knowing that the first sheet she put up earlier are already frozen and will have to be brought into the kitchen later with the rest of them. She brushes the snow from a block of wood she keeps to the side for herself and sits down as she tries to remember what the courtyard used to look like 3 years ago. It's a game she sometimes plays with herself, remembering how life used to be. She finds a crumpled cigarette in the breast pocket of her mackinaw and tries to straighten it as she searches for a match. The small trees with their neat white benches tucked underneath them are gone now, used for firewood ages ago. Just the darkened stumps remain, looking like old blackened fence posts sticking up out of the packed snow. They had to make room for the wounded in the early years of the war, they told her, and the trees were the first innocent casualties, like the casualties they brought in from the front at Caporetto. That was during the first months of the war, before Anna had even arrived. Of course, that was in the heat of a clear summer, when no one thought any different about laying the wounded out in the courtyard. And even when the rain started, no one thought the war would carry on into the winter. The roses that once climbed through the empty trellises and bloomed with saucer-sized flowers have long since withered and died. She would have loved to have seen those, she thinks, as she finds the match. And the rhododendrons, all of the flowers that once lined the walkways and the manicured lawns, are gone now, reduced to a memory of mud every time the wounded are brought in and laid out in the dark hallways. The shrubs that line the western wall are gone as well. What was it that doctor used to call it? The Wailing Wall, she tells herself. They were the last to go. Now, when the rains come, the water puddles up against the wall and snakes its way into the hospital. Was it last year or 2 years ago? One of the doctors said the shrubs would have to go, and she wept as she helped him pull them out one afternoon. She can't even remember what they were anymore. He told her. She remembers that much about it as she holds the unlit match in front of her, but she's since forgotten. Juniper, jasmine, holly. All Anna remembers is how they scratched her arms and bled sap all over her hands. She thumbs the match alive and lights her cigarette. Anna stares into the flame of the match and remembers the softness of the doctor's hands. There was a tenderness to his touch and a depth to his understanding that was beyond her own. And there was the passion they had for each other. But like everyone else she's known over the last 3 years, and everyone else she's tried to hold on to, he left. He went south to the Tyrol and the front, back home to his wife, she imagines, as she takes a deep pull on the bent cigarette. He tried writing to her, even though she told him not to. When the letters stopped, Anna knew he was dead. A piece of her died with his memory, and she still grieves for him when the loneliness of her life seems impossible to confront, and when the solitude and separation of the life she once knew overwhelms her. She doesn't grieve for him the same way she grieved for her husband. The brief love affair she'd had with him and the love she'd had for her husband were of a different sort. The one was an awkward comfort, a duty to her family, while the other was an intensity and a physicality within it she doubted she'd ever know again. When she feels the familiar desire well up inside of her, she squeezes her thighs shut, as though she's shutting out an overwhelming love, and puffs on her cigarette. There's no time for fantasy lovers, she tells herself. Besides, she doesn't think she has any love left to give. The well is empty, dried up. Instead, Anna loses herself within her chores. She lets her mind wander the distant hills surrounding the old monastery and tells herself she'll never let herself fall in love again. Well, there you go, the opening gambit, if you want to call it that. And we're going to call it that. And it's short. It's like 9 minutes. which is good. And that brings us to what we're going to do with this page or this channel, whatever you want to call it, right? I go on, I take this, I upload it, download it, upload it, put it on my iMovies, and then I go all Pink Floyd on it and make sound effects and do all that other shit. And then I put it on my Substack. But Substack has now put a link to YouTube, and I couldn't get YouTube to accept my movies that I was making on my iMovies for some reason, because I'm not techie. As you can see, I'm old, set in my ways, so I don't get it. So it is what it is. But now they're helping me, so I want to make this into a book channel, and I'm thinking I can make this into a little TV program. I'm thinking a half an hour's length, which means I have to do a lot of talking and stuff. But I don't want to do a lot of talking and stuff because, you know, who wants to listen to that? So I was thinking I would invite my wife to come along with me, and we'd go downtown, visit different restaurants, try and interview people on the street. I have an iPad, she has a phone and an iPad. I'm thinking I can get 3 different views or 2 different views, whatever, a 2-camera shot, whatever you want to call it. I can splice them all together and make myself into a real TV show. Like, I can be the producer. I'll be doing the reading, and then I'll be doing the show with it, which would be pretty cool. Because who wants to sit here and listen to me just talk and talk and talk? It's already been 2 minutes, and look at, I'm bored, you silly. Okay, so we'll see how that works. I might, you know, I can make commercials, comedy shit, because, like, you know, it's gonna have to be funny because I can't handle seriousness. I'm just not a serious kind of a person. Anybody who knows me will tell you that I don't wear this. I don't dress like this. I'm a blue collar guy, man. I love dressing like this because it's the only chance I get to dress like this. You know, I never wore a tie before. Look at that. I even tied it. Wow. Yeah, so this is all new for me and a challenge for me, and I want to see how far I can take it and what we can do. I'll end up putting it behind the paywall, and reading the story out will stay free forever, for always, because that's the way it's supposed to be. And the TV program, that's going to be paywalled because that's an experiment, and there's only 37 of you that are actually paywalled. And why do I want to embarrass myself in front of, like, the rest of you, which are, like, a lot for me? I mean, not a lot, but a lot for me. I can tell you how many there are, but that would be bragging, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to tell you how many subscribers I have. I don't want to tell you how many followers I have. I'll just tell you how many paid I have. 30. 7 of them are different comps for different reasons. One's a gift because they won something. And, you know, when you get that, when you recommend and all that stuff like that, it just happens automatically. And some of them are due to poverty, and some of them are because I'm trying to bribe people to follow me. That's not working, but whatever. We'll see how that goes. And I will be calling out for my celebrities to come and read for me. It's not working. That's why I gave up, because it's not working. But when I get the wife, because you know, she's more. She took drama in school, and I didn't. I took the artsy fartsy stuff. She took the artsy fartsy stuff, but I took the artsy fartsy stuff where you're, you know, doing cartooning and that kind of stuff, because that's what I wanted to be. And she took drama because, well, that's what she wanted to do. And it worked out good for her. She gets to talk in front of people. Of course, it's a shift starter, but still, hey? And I get to doodle, so there you go. Anyways, I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna say arrivederci and ciao for now. And I will see you next week at the same bat time and the same bat channel. So for the Scribbler, a portal to fiction, this is your host, Ben Wustenberg, signing off and saying arrivederci. What? You're still here? No. This isn't the beginning of the show yet. I mean, the end. This is the end. The show has ended. It's not like I haven't started the other part yet, so you'll have to wait. Okay? Go. It's okay. You can leave now. See ya. Bye.